A very good Tuesday evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us tonight at 6:30. A pretty nice day across northern Michigan. Some of us did see a few showers here and there, but a lot of us saw some warm temperatures, a lot of 70s and 80s, and it sure finally felt like summer out there. But I know tomorrow might be a bit of a different story, right, Joe?
Yeah, today we did have, as you said, a shower, a couple of them around, a few isolated storms. Tomorrow we're looking at what should be a more widespread and potentially in some such heavy rain. But a lot of that will hold off until later in the day. So you might wake up, especially up north, and it still will be kind of dry, but eventually that rain's going to win out tomorrow. And we've been talking to eventually some hot weather on the way in particular 2 days, and we'll talk about that too, which days those are, Maya, coming up a little later.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Joe. Our top story tonight, a Northern Michigan dispatch center is looking to the use of artificial intelligence to help answer non-emergency calls. Staff at Grand Traverse County Central Dispatch will ask county commissioners tomorrow to approve a contract with an AI call-taking system, and our Allie Baxter looked into this request.
I was pretty skeptical because this is so new.
Corey LeCure is the director at Grand Traverse County's Central Dispatch Center. He previously told UpNorthLive in April he believed the county's dispatch center needed a better call handling system.
We get more calls on our non-emergency line by far than we get on 911.
And many of the calls on that line are exactly that, a non-emergency. But dispatchers are being distracted by calls that shouldn't be placed to them at all.
About noise, we get complaints about people not being able to merge correctly in a construction zone. We get requests for fireworks schedules at Cherry Festival. People want to know where to pay their property taxes. Those are all coming into the non-emergency line.
As Corey explains, dispatchers are here to help, but they're also juggling radio traffic for first responders and having to deal with scam callers. That call volume, Corey says, quintuples during the summer months.
The most frustrating thing where you would talk a caller through CPR on a child, let's say, and then the non-emergency line rings and it's somebody that wants to complain about the noise of the air show or the fact that their neighbor is shooting off fireworks.
So when Corey heard about other dispatches implementing AI to take the load off of some of those non-emergency calls, he wanted to learn more.
And it was pretty impressive.
Enter Aurelian, an AI call-taking system specifically for public safety use. Corey says staff have control of it and can customize it to fit their non-emergent callers' needs.
I think some of the early tries at this that were called AI actually were missing the I. They didn't have any intelligence to them, right? They were just a dumb phone tree.
We asked Corey and Aurelian CEO Max Keenan if there are any privacy concerns for those calling and sharing sensitive information.
I don't see any need for privacy concerns. Anytime anybody calls Central Dispatch, it becomes a government record, and therefore it's an open record that can be requested.
Keenan echoed that, saying, quote, "We have strict encryption and data privacy practices, including being SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We never train on calls or caller information." It's a $60,000 price tag for the system, but Corey says it's worth it because
anything that we can do to help our people focus on 911 emergencies, actual 911 emergencies, and keeping our first responders safe, that's what we want to invest in. That's what we want to go for.
Our thanks to Allie Baxter for that story and for joining us live now from our content center with more on that story. Hey, Allie.
Hi, Maya.
So it's very interesting learning all about this because I didn't even know that this was a thing that apparently some other dispatch centers around the country are using when it comes to this AI call-taking system. So after hearing from Corey in your story, it sounds like it makes sense why they want this help from artificial intelligence, but why now?
Yeah, I think in the past it was more so just looking at some different options. Like Corey had said before, in the past it seemed like things were just kind of like a glorified phone bank. There was no intelligence to the artificial intelligence. So I know there was a lot of time, thought, and consideration because there are a few different AI call-taking systems out there, and I know Corey did a lot of research to see what would work best. I think a few other departments in Michigan and in Wisconsin are using Aurelian right now as well. So there was some consideration of, okay, let me talk to those dispatch centers, see how they like Aurelian, how it's working for them.
And so they are going to go to the Grand Traverse County Commission tomorrow to request a contract to get this service?
Yeah, so tomorrow they are going to be presenting this contract to county board members to say, can we get the approval to execute a contract with Aurelian for these services? It's going to be $60,000 for the first year, and there is an out if it's not really something that fits well with Grand Traverse County Central Dispatch. They can remove themselves from it, but after that it will increase to $72,000 each year.
And where is that money coming from?
I'm not sure exactly, but that's something that we can certainly include in our web story and look more into.
And so let's say this does get approved at the meeting tomorrow. Do we know like when the Central Dispatch staff members would begin using this new service? Would it be kind of right away if it does get approved?
I don't believe it would be right away. I imagine there will be some things that they would want to work out first. Like Corey was saying, it's super customizable. They are able to have 100% control of this AI software. So I imagine they would do maybe like a few like run-throughs first. So I couldn't imagine this going into place like say during Cherry Festival week when they are seeing so much call volume already. It seems like something that may be more so if given approval, soft launch towards the end of the year.
And, you know, a lot of different companies around the country, around the state, they do use this type of service, maybe not for their dispatch center, but I'm sure, Allie, you've probably called someone and it comes up with an automated message for like, oh, if you want to talk to this person, press 1. If you have questions about this, press 2. Is that kind of how this system would work too, do you know?
Yeah, so in some other stories that I've seen from some other TV stations across the country where Aurelian is already in place, it seems that more so it is like a back and forth instead of like a phone bank where traditionally, you know, we call and it's like press 1 for this or press 2 for this. It's an actual like voice that goes back and forth with you. So like, hey, I am reporting a lost camera. Okay, can you give us any more details about that lost camera? And so then that transcription is provided to the dispatcher to go back over and make a call back to you if it's necessary.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Well, we're going to show our question of the day on the screen in a couple minutes, but it is related to this story, Allie, and it is, are you comfortable with dispatch centers using AI to answer non-emergency calls? As of right now, 77% are voting no, but looking at our comments on Facebook, I think a lot of people, they just say like, we want to talk to a real person, and in case of an emergency, we want to talk to a real person. But I think the emphasis of this system and this question is it's not going to be for if someone's calling 911. It'll just be if someone's calling the non-emergency line, right?
Right, and I want to like emphasize that as well. Like it is specifically for any calls that are coming to the non-emergency line, which honestly, I was kind of surprised earlier when Corey said we get more calls to the non-emergency line because I guess like in my head, I thought that if you're making what could be maybe a non-emergency call to 911, you are using that 911 number. But he said, no, people use our non-emergency line. They use it for that purpose. But we are getting a ton of calls that are for reasons that you shouldn't be calling Central Dispatch. It's people looking to pay their property taxes. It's people looking for court information, for information on how to pay their bonds, and those are things that Central Dispatch just doesn't handle, and it's taking away from them being able to answer or juggle some of the radio traffic for actual emergencies that are taking place. So it seems that that's kind of been what the focus is on in terms of implementing this AI software system, because there has been a little bit of abuse of that non-emergency number. They also get a ton of scam calls. I was actually really surprised to learn this today as well. They actually answer probably 30 to 40 calls that ultimately end up being scam calls on a shift.
Wow. And do you know, so at Grand Traverse County Central Dispatch, like how many staff members are there at a time?
Today, when I was there during the day, there was about 5 of them, including a supervisor. So, I mean, just thinking about the fact that there's already 5 in there, and each of them seem to already be either on a call, answering a call, or keeping track of a different first responder in the field, because they do have to constantly check in with that first responder and say, hey, can I get an update? What is your status?
Right. So yeah, that's a lot of phone calls to be coming into a room with not a whole lot of staff members. So it sounds like the overall goal is just to free up some of those emergency lines so that these dispatchers can focus on real emergencies and kind of leave any other non-emergency questions aside for maybe AI.
Right, and I totally like understand, and Corey says as well, like totally understand people's frustration of, it seems like AI is totally dominating the scene right now, right? So there is going to be a bit of a version of, I don't want to place a call and not talk to an actual human. Like I I don't want to talk to a AI or a robot. I want to talk to an actual human, and I want to work out my problem with a human. But right now, just given certain staffing levels and what our county dispatchers and the load that they're able to handle, it's not something that they can constantly be answering the phone, hearing what's ends up being a lot of complaining of traffic, construction, the noise level of Cherry Festival with the air shows and the concerts. Those are things that are just simply out of central dispatchers' hands. They shouldn't be taking those kind of phone calls.
Right. No, makes sense to me. Is there anything else that you want to mention, Allie, that we haven't discussed yet?
I would just say tune in to UpNorthLive News tomorrow, because we are planning to have an update on whether county commissioners are going to approve that contract, or if maybe they have some questions for central dispatch that they want them to go back to Aurelian and see what more information they need.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Allie, for joining us. Now let's take a look at that question of the day that we were just talking about. Give you folks at home a chance to vote on it if you haven't already. So again, today's question is, are you comfortable with dispatch centers using AI to answer non-emergency calls? Scan the QR code on your screen right now to vote. You can also head over to our Facebook page to leave a comment. And now, after watching Allie's story and hearing more from Allie, hopefully you have a better understanding. I know when you see a question like this, your first thought is like, oh, we don't want AI, like Allie was saying, like we want to talk to a real person. But now that you kind of understand some of the background information and what really goes on in these dispatch centers, hopefully you have a better idea and feel more comfortable and confident answering our question of the day. We'll take a look at those results toward the end of the show. But one more story to share with you before we take a quick break. On a day where temperatures are in the 80s across northern Michigan, thoughts of our ice storm a couple months ago may not be the top of mind for you right now, but we do have some of our viewers who have been calling us and asking some questions about, all those downed power lines that happened due to those ice storms. What happens to them now? And our Mark Chalette got you answers.
Think will take us into September to get all of this cleaned up.
The ice long melted. After endless days of work, the power restored. But for power companies like Presque Electric and Gas, the job isn't done.
This is a very large process.
They, like so many homeowners and communities across the 10-county hardest hit area, are left with dealing with all those broken limbs, broken trees, and for them, all those broken poles.
There are well over 2,800 poles that we've replaced just due to this ice storm.
Viewers contacted us, remembering those staggering numbers, thousands upon thousands of snapped power poles. They wondered what happens to them once they're damaged and pulled from service.
We have to follow the systematic and controlled process.
And that's a regulated process that power companies by and large follow statewide.
We know where the pole was when it was functioning. We have documentation to show the damaged pole. And then we also have very specialized crews hired to document the removal of that and where it ended up in the proper disposal.
And that proper disposal means following required steps, and for the most part, a final required destination when broken.
They end up going into particular landfills for tracking and proper disposal.
The vast majority of those snap poles across the region are or will end up in landfills.
The people on the disposal side and managing them to ensure that it's all being done according to federal and state local standards.
To some of our viewers, that seems like a shame. Power poles are chemically treated to withstand our weather. Strong, solid, big, and heavy. Seems like even broken ones could have a second life, but
I think the answer in short is no. We really do need to follow the standardized procedure for the safety of the community, for the safety of the environment.
couldn't they be recycled, sold, or given to folks who could use them? Well, the challenge for power companies, even if they weren't mandated and required to follow certain guidelines, is taking the time to find homes for thousands of broken poles takes time away from the work needed to repair and rebuild.
This is a very specific process, and when you deviate from that, whether someone wants a pole or they want something over here, that slows that process down a lot. So it is a very good point that not only do we have to follow the process for the benefit of everybody, but it's very, very time consuming to deviate from that process.
That was Mark Chalette reporting. All right, we are going to take a quick break now, but coming up next, Joe will have much more on your forecast for Wednesday. As he mentioned earlier, some widespread storms tomorrow with the potential for some more heavy storms. He'll have much more on that, as well as a look ahead to a warm-up straight ahead.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
A few showers across northern Michigan today, but certainly more in the forecast for our Wednesday. So, Joe, when can we expect to see that rain tomorrow?
Yeah, it'll take a little while to get going, but eventually I think by mid to late afternoon, especially most areas will be dealing with some of that rain, and it could be heavy in some spots, especially tomorrow evening. Today, though, we didn't have a lot of rain. There were a few showers. We had a couple isolated thunderstorms as well. There's a cold front passing through. We'll show you that in a moment. But we had our UpNorthLive Sky View drone out today over Williamsburg. That's in Grand Traverse County. Looks like ball field down below. A lot of rain recently. I mean, it's been wet. We have more on the way in, so things are pretty green, pretty lush. Looking down on the farm there on the bottom corner, and you can see some of the shadows as the clouds passed over the sun there. Nice view there in Williamsburg, Grand Traverse County. All right, here is a look at our weather map tonight. And you see that blue line? That is a cold front. It's kind of working right over northern Michigan this evening. Now, we did have earlier today a couple of showers and thunderstorms just ahead of that boundary. It's dry right now. Rain has moved on. Here's a little closer look at that. A couple showers there offshore of Alpena and Harrisville. And that's it. Otherwise, we're looking at what should be a pretty quiet evening here. The severe weather threat tomorrow is much higher downstate. We'll show it to you, though. We have an enhanced risk through parts of Indiana, Ohio, into southern Michigan, south of Lansing. And then a slight risk up to about US 10, the rest of the area for the most part under a marginal risk. So the threat does lower as you head north. But we'll be close to what could be some stronger storms in the afternoon and evening. And this is what this kind of looks like. Quiet tonight, increasing clouds, maybe a late night shower. And then tomorrow, as we get into the afternoon, low pressure is going to arrive. There is around 4 o'clock. Some thunderstorms. If you're up in the Straits, parts of the UP, you might not see much rain until later in the day up there. And then look at this, heavy downpours, potential for some stronger thunderstorms, especially there south of Cadillac, around Big Rapids, Mount Pleasant, the Ludington area, down toward Muskegon. Again, better chances for severe weather will be downstate, but there is that possibility in our southern counties. We'll watch that tomorrow. Heavy rain continues that tomorrow night. We're really in a good dousing, folks, for most spots, except up in the UP, probably less there. And then that'll head out of here. And then Thursday afternoon, maybe an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. So we'll look at the rain totals. They are impressive tomorrow with a sharp cutoff to the north, a pretty big delineation. But again, you take a line from Petoskey, Rogers City, much of the area south of there could see an inch or more. In some spots, 3.5 inches of rain. That's a lot. So we could certainly be dealing with the potential for some flooding too in some spots if you get some of these storms right over the top of you. We also still expect a warm up next week. Right there, you see that eastern half of the country pretty warm, and that will include our area. And as we look at the extended forecast, you can see that. Look at Sunday and Monday, 80s and 90s in the forecast. So a lot going on. Rain tomorrow. Could see some storms up north Saturday, and then that warm air, well, hot air comes in Sunday and Monday, Maya.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. We are going to take a quick break. Coming up next, no sports today. Our sports director, Harrison Beebe, is off for the week, but we do have one more pretty interesting story to share with you. Coming up next. All right, a wild animal's big day out is briefly interrupted by a family's pet. Check it out. Patrick Cornell has that in today's Take a Look at This.
Take a look at this scary snout-to-snout standoff inside a California home. A black bear barged into the house only to be met by a 17-year-old dog named Doodle. No worries, Doodle escaped the scare unharmed. Undaunted by Doodle's fearsome fangs, the bear continued to raid the kitchen, and this wasn't the bear's first foray that day, breaking into another neighbor's home through a window to steal some snacks.
I had opened up the freezer, ruined a perfectly good gluten-free pizza, and really chowed down on the pancetta and bacon.
Then, working off those calories by taking a dip in a nearby pool. Buddy's having a very big day. Reportedly, the bear hung around the neighborhood for hours before finally being run off. In the things that shouldn't be here category,
I would bring your dog inside. There's an alligator over here.
no, not a small alligator. Someone spotted this behemoth outside their motel room in Fairfax, Virginia, and called the cops. An investigator arrived to find this 6-foot-long, scaly surprise loitering around. Reportedly, the reptile was traveling from New York to a zoo in North Carolina, but the overnight motel slumber party is apparently a big ol' no-go for gators, so police quickly helped escort the animal and its owner out of the county. And if a gator creeping around your door doesn't give you nightmares, try this terrifying tarantula instead. Don't worry, we'll rewind and pause it so you can partake in this horrifying image. The alarming arachnid was seen on camera in the middle of the night crawling around outside a home in Austin, Texas. A picture-perfect way to scare the daylights out of any homeowner. Good luck sleeping after that notification pops up on your phone. For Take a Look at This, yikes! I'm Patrick Cornell.
Oh yeah, did not like that last story there with the tarantula. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, but straight ahead we will take a look at the live results for our question of the day and a few of your comments. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Taking a look at our question of the day today and the live results. Are you comfortable with dispatch centers using AI to answer non-emergency calls? We have 182 votes, 77% no, 23% yes. Over on Facebook, a lot of no comments. Lori says no, I want to talk to a real person, not a computer. Jason says no, dispatchers are trained to pick up in the context during a call. What you may not think is an emergency could actually be one. And Kathy says, yes, they need this. I don't want a person getting instructions on how to do life-saving get interrupted. You can join the conversation over on our Facebook page. We're all out of time. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.